It's the start of another year of AVGN, and can you imagine how angry the nerd must get when he can't find a movie streaming? Yeah. Well, luckily, we've got ExpressVPN to help us find exactly what we need. ExpressVPN is the magic key that opens your streaming service's treasure hoard. Trying to find a movie but can't find it streaming anywhere? Apps like Netflix and Disney Plus hide content from you based on the country you're in. With ExpressVPN, you can just switch your location to another country like this, and in seconds, you'll be watching the movies hidden in your streaming apps, all in beautiful high definition. And with over 100 countries to pick from worldwide, you're guaranteed to find the movies you're looking for. Whether it's the hottest action movies like John Wick 4, only available in South Korea, or deep-cut horror movies like Evil Dead Trap, only found in Japan, I'm always confident that I can find what I need with a little help from my friend ExpressVPN. Find out how you can get yourself 3 months of ExpressVPN for free by going to expressvpn.com/Cinemassacre or by clicking the link in my description below.
I know these guys must have died.
Konami, a game company of legend. Their games were like treasures that kids sought after. Ruby red shooters, emerald adorned beat-em-ups, diamond lace platformers, and they all came sweeping into the NES library like an armada. And of course, we talked about such great classics like Contra, Castlevania. You had so many other gems like Bucky O'Hare and Life Force. And you had Metal Gear and Bio Billy, Castlevania 2. Top Gun, and then you have Goonies 1 and 2. So, The Goonies is one of those quintessential 80s movies about a group of kids who go on an adventure to seek out a hidden pirate treasure in hopes to use the fortune to save their homes from becoming a golf resort, while at the same time being chased by a family of escaped prisoners, the Fratellis. It may be a little dated, but it sure does have that fun-loving spirit and nostalgic vibe that's expected of the Spielberg brand. And of course, with something so cherished, it is a rule that it must be tarnished in the form of video games. Now, there were various versions on the numerous home computers at the time, such as the Commodore 64, but the versions I'm talking about are the ones that were made for the Nintendo systems. Now, first up is the original Goonies, which was both on the Famicom and Famicom Disk System. Let's start this up and give it a go. Well, here it is. That beloved childhood adventure that you all knew has been turned into a repetitive scavenger hunt where you go around kicking the shit out of giant mice to get bombs to blow open skull doors to collect keys.
They blew up the walls all around him.
Once you have all 3 keys, you can unlock the next level. But that's not all. In each level, one of your friends has been kidnapped and you gotta find them. You play as the character Mikey, which is not very apparent, and all he does is kick, but you can also find a slingshot. It seems they missed a lot of potential here. Why not play as Data? That was the character who had all the cool gadgets. That would have been better than just a cliched slingshot. The enemies are no more inspired. Ghosts, skeletons, bats. Come on, why does every game have to have bats? Oh wait, the bats were in the movie. Okay then. And it also has the criminals who chase you around. I assume they're the Fratellis? So it is following the movie somewhat, I guess, but the bats were probably just a coincidence. One thing I do have to commend is they actually use the Cyndi Lauper song from the movie, The Goonies Are Good Enough. And it actually sounds pretty rad as a chiptune. Anyway, there's not much else about this game. You just kill the mice, find the keys, unlock the gates, find the keys, you know? It's starting to feel like I'm playing the same levels over and over again. In fact, I think I am playing the same levels again. What's happening? Did it send me back to the beginning? That's right. It's the same 5 stages looping endlessly. What's worse than playing a shitty game? Playing a shitty game that never ends. I'm stuck, trapped, forever.
Forever, forever, and ever trapped. Wow.
Actually, What happens here is if you forget to rescue any of the kids, the game will allow you to keep on playing up to stage 5, but after that, it sends you back to the beginning. What kind of fucking shit is that? It shouldn't let you pass any of the levels. It should say, go back and get the kid, asshole. No, instead it wants you to keep on playing just to waste your fucking time. On the screen, it does tell you how many kids you've saved, but not which stages they're from. So if I'm on stage 4 and it's showing I saved 3 kids, that could mean I missed the kid on stage 1 or 2 or whatever. I don't know. That was ancient history ago. I've been running around for so long looking for keys. So after you've completed stage 5 with 5 kids saved, it lets you go to the 6th and final stage, the ship. It's very short. All you do is hop around fighting mice and flying fish. I would make the statement that none of this shit ever happens in the movie, but that isn't the fucking problem anymore. The game has no bosses, none whatsoever. You find the girl, and the game ends. All you get is a short cutscene of the Goonies watching the pirate ship, like the movie, and then it says the end. Congratulations. Oh, and you want to know what happens after that? Sends you back to level 1, in case you want to play again. Well, that was the version of the Goonies that we did not get here in the United States. It was in the arcades, but not on the home consoles. So they spared us that one. Because you know why? We deserved something much shittier. The Goonies 2 was one of those movie sequel video games before there was ever a sequel, much like Top Gun: The Second Mission. Well, of course, Top Gun did eventually get a sequel, but so far, The Goonies has not. And if it does, hope it's nothing like this. The main villain from the first movie, Mama Fratelli, is back for revenge, and this time she's kidnapped Annie. Well, her name was Andy, but I'll assume it's a new character because this is Goonies 2. The gameplay is similar to the first Goonies and even has the same song. You're just going around fighting insects and shit, but with a yo-yo this time. What was with video games using yo-yos as weapons? Star Tropics, Earthbound, Yo-Noid? Where did that come from? Has anyone ever hit someone with a yo-yo flawlessly to have the yo-yo wind itself back to their hand? That would be amazing! That didn't happen in the movie. But remember, this is Goonies 2. You still have bombs, but now you can also get Molotov cocktails. That's just great. A 14-year-old kid's running around throwing Molotov cocktails. Good family fun. But this ain't like the movie, because this is Goonies 2. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you straight out. As a side-scroller, this is a totally fine game. If you were a kid in the late 80s and rented it from the video store, as I once had, you wouldn't find anything wrong. After you finish your homework, you'd kill some time by yo-yoing the fuck out of some spiders for a couple hours and call it a day. But if you're trying to actually get anywhere, that's a whole other story.
Oh shit, what?
Let me tell you what I mean. You see these doors? Bet you go in there, right? I say, no. Leave well enough alone. If you want any hope in getting some enjoyability out of this game, just forget about the doors. Sure, that means you won't get very far, but the trauma is not worth it. Don't go in the doors. It's like The Shining with the forbidden hotel room. The kid Danny is warned not to go in there, but he does anyway, because otherwise you wouldn't have much of a movie, and here, I guess you wouldn't have much of a nerd episode. Because on the other side of these doors, that's where they hid the shitty game. I wish I didn't have to do this, but it is my duty. So I'm gonna go in there and show you the inner workings of the bullshit fuck factory. You unlock this door with the key of humiliation. Beyond it is an entirely different game. A game of shit. A game of awful sights. A game of torture to the mind. You're diving into the ass of the most toxic, filthy substance of idiotic ideas you've just crossed over into the diarrhea dimension. Now all of a sudden, it looks like we're playing the cabin stages in Friday the 13th. But if Friday the 13th were shitty. And I know, I already said Friday the 13th was shitty, but not anymore. These rooms were designed without any common sense, programmed with no laws of physics. I don't know how to explain it because I can't even fully understand it myself. I push up to go in a door, and next thing, I'm back to where I was. So I figured down must be forward. So I try that, and still don't know where I'm going. Left and right don't seem to do anything. You think it would turn Mikey's perspective, like in Friday the 13th. When I'm using an already shitty game as an example as what it should do, you know it's a bad sign. I can't comprehend the layout. There's no logical sense of space in this asinine architecture. I never even knew how fucking crack-brained a video game can be until I realized Mikey can only face forward. Left and right do work if you're going through a side door. But hang on, which direction am I looking now? How does this room relate to the one I was just in? When I went through the door, did my perspective turn 90 degrees? Or did I walk sideways into the room? Is Mikey actually strafing into the next room? And remember, when I tried to go into a door that's right in front of my fucking face but ended up back outside the door I came in, that's because I walked backwards through the first door. You have to imagine a theoretical door on the fourth wall in which he walks backwards through. Ugh, does that make any sense? I'm trying my best to put this into words, but I just sound insane. Basically, you can't turn around, so you can never actually see the door you came in. Never. But wait, that doesn't explain how up moved me backwards. Well, if you look at the corner, you see Mikey inside that sort of directional compass. If he's facing toward us, that means down will move him in the direction he's facing, while up will move him backwards. So essentially what I'm saying is, you press up to walk backwards out of a room. As soon as you get used to that, next thing, he's facing away. So now up is up and down is down. I know 3D rooms in video games was a pretty new concept at the time, but wouldn't the simplest way to program this be up is always forward, down is always back, and anytime you turn left or right, that would change the perspective and reorient the controls, right? Instead, this game seems to think of the D-pad as a fixed direction, so down will always move you to one side of the room, and so on. The manual attempts to explain it and even says, hey, nobody ever said this was easy. Man, they got that right. Even when you understand it, why does the character have to face different directions? I think it happens based on which way you've originally entered the room in relation to the overworld map. But why was that necessary? How did they manage to fuck it up so bad? I'd say it's very unlikely they've ever made a video game before this, but there was Goonies 1. Anyway, what's the goal in these rooms? Why are we here? Well, this is one of those point and click, fuck around and find out type of games, but in the bad kind of way, where all you're really doing is playing a blind guessing game. Who's this guy? He's not helpful in any way. So, how about, I don't know, I just punch him in the face? What do you do? Why must you do this to me, dear me? You can even hit him with a hammer. That's brutal! Remember that scene in the movie, not The Exorcist, but The Goonies, where Mikey beat the shit out of some old man? Well, of course not, because this is Goonies 2. Anytime you collect new items, it goes into your tool menu. To access them, you have to fumble through some really awkward controls. To move the cursor left or right, you can only press up and down to cycle through the tools. It would be perfectly logical to press left and right, but that does nothing. Also, to go to the second page of tools, you have to hit B, which would usually be the cancel button. The cancel button is start. What kind of sense does that make? You hit start to go back? The real secret of the tool menu is that we're not in control. The game's messing with us because we are the tools. I don't mean to sound like I'm going out of my way to complain, and it might seem like a small thing, but that'd be like if you rented a car, you got in and the stick shift was on the ceiling. Would you be like, oh, okay? Or would you be like, why the fuck is it up here? What makes the tool menu even stranger is that when you're on the side-scrolling stages, Start brings up a whole new menu, one that's more traditional, more like what you'd expect for the NES. Some of the same tools are in here, such as the hammer, ladder, candle, etc. But here, they're not called tools, they're called implements. So, because the same tools appear in two different menu screens that function in completely different ways, only leads me to believe that there were two different games that somehow got smushed together like two different dog turds being run through the lawnmower. But if and when you ever get used to these rooms and tool system, that's only half the battle, because it's a puzzle within a puzzle. Every door, every item, every single thing you're trying to find is hidden. You have to trigger them to appear, usually by physically hitting every little spot. It might be the wall, it might be the ceiling, it might be the floor, and it might be with the fist, it might be with the hammer. It's like Mylon's secret castle, where you have to break the blocks to find everything. Except, imagine if Mylon had to try each block twice while switching weapons. It takes twice as long. It's a pixel hunting nightmare that never ends. Oh, you can get special glasses that makes everything visible. Thank God. But oh wait, it only works in certain places. In fact, it barely works at all. What a fucking tease. And there were no special glasses in the movie, but never mind that, because this is Goonies too. Even when you do find something, like when you find a hole on the ceiling, sometimes you can only get to it with a ladder, and if it's a hole in the floor, sometimes you need a diving suit because I guess it's full of water. So you'll have to come back later when you have those items. Now, if you make a hole and then you leave the room and then come back, the hole's gone. At least I think it's gone, because it seems like a different room. So they don't even have the goddamn courtesy to let you retrace your steps. If I saw the hole, I'd be able to know I was just there. Where's the hole? You want to know what fucking hole I'm thinking of? When you get the ladder, you climb up by pressing up. Makes sense, but you want to know how to climb down the ladder? By pressing up? Does that mean he is actually going down head first? Have you ever climbed upside down a ladder? It does not work. Then they have the nerve to make the rooms go dark. So now you gotta get a candle. You gotta go on a never-ending scavenger hunt, punching and hammering every wall in every room till you come to an old man who says, "Get out of here if you have nothing to do." Okay, how about I punch him in the face? "Fuck you, motherfucker!" Yeah! So I punched him 3 times, and nothing interesting happened. But just for good measure, I hit him a 4th time. Still nothing. Well, I'm pretty sure nothing is gonna happen, so how about I hit him 1 more time? The candle appeared? How would you come to that conclusion? What do you do when you see an old man meditating? Well, punch him 5 times in the fucking face! Of course! If that's your first instinct, that really says a lot about you. It's like punching people in Roger Rabbit. You don't expect it to have any effect. And why 5 times? Usually it would take 3. When would it ever be 5? Man, I've played tons of games and that's never occurred. Anyway, now that you have the candle, you walk into a room and guess what? It's still dark. What am I thinking? Of course the candle's not automatic. You gotta click tools, then select the candle. Fair enough. But when you go into the next room, guess what? You gotta click tools and select the candle again. And then you go back into the room you were just at and you gotta do it again. Why doesn't Mikey just leave the candle on? Is he blowing it out every single time he goes into the next room? Man, that makes no sense. And that wasn't in the movie either. But this is Goonies too. What I find most remarkable is how all these simple, shitty things seem related to one another, as if they're all working together like a well-greased, piss-stained diarrhea machine, like one of Data's contraptions. It's a chain effect. The wall-hitting bullshit plays into the navigational disorientation, which plays into the darkness, which plays into the back-ass controls. It's just one big circle-jerk fuck show. Honestly, I'm impressed. This takes frustrating game design to a high art. It's one of the most psychologically targeted brain fuckers I've ever played.
No! I'm too young!
Oh, I need a beer. Where is it? Where is it? There's a beer in this wall. I would totally drink it. Oh, I know. It's hammer time. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of elder abuse in this episode, nerd.
You're still here, huh? You're still fucking here! Alright, where was I? Did I just spend the past 8 minutes talking about the simple function of moving through rooms? It's astonishing how the game goes from good to horrible as soon as you open one of those doors. How did they fuck it all up over something so stupid? Something that you normally wouldn't even have to think about is such a large part of the game. And that's the majority of your time, just finding your way through rooms and clicking around menus to do simple things that could have been done with one hit of a button. It overcomplicates everything. Imagine if you were playing Super Mario Brothers and anytime you go down a pipe, it switches to something completely different, like some kind of 3D labyrinth with a mess of menus and controls that make no sense. But what happens when you make it through these rooms? You thought it'd be an end-all, shit-all, bottom-of-the-barrel fuck? No, the rooms are merely the means of transit to the other side of the map. Yeah, I haven't even talked about the map yet.
Who knows?
Mouth, you said you could translate. Translate, right here.
Yeah, translate it.
Yeah, now we're really getting down to it. It's nice they have a map, but it's pointless because you never take a direct path to go anywhere ever. Instead, you go through those 3D rooms which act as a turd tunnel to go from one shitty realm to the next. On the other side, you find yourself on the back of the map. That's right, the map flips around. Let me demonstrate on paper. It's as if you're trying to solve an ordinary maze, except every so often there's a spot where you have to punch the pen through, and on the other side, there's a whole other maze as if you traveled through a wormhole. So now you have to find your way to the next wormhole and flip the map again, and again, and again. But that's simplifying it, because each time you'd get to one of those wormholes, you'd have to switch to some kind of 3D maze and find your way through blindfolded while only being able to point in one direction. The whole idea is to rescue your friends, like the first game, but the map won't show where they're at, unless you find a locator device for each individual one. When you do, the friends are represented by a blue dot, which only means they're inside a room that's in that area. You are represented by a red dot, so you head toward the blue dot, checking the map every so often to keep track. Next thing you know, the blue dot is gone. What happened? Oh, am I on it? That's right. The red dot can cover the blue dot. So you gotta move one screen over just to make sure. That's like if you're looking for the TV remote and suspect you might be sitting on it, so you have to get up and move. They couldn't figure out how to show a blue dot and a red dot at the same time? Couldn't they just make a purple dot, perhaps? So I go through the room, I hammer the wall to find a door that leads to the friend in a cage. Luckily I have the key, so I open it and they say, "Mikey, you're late, I was almost killed." Well, cut me a fucking break. I had to get a diving suit so I can climb up down a ladder to find a hidden safe behind a wall, behind a door, behind an invisible door that I moonwalked backwards out of. Then I had to kill some birds until one of them dropped the key. I had to bomb a bunch of random spots on the wall so I could find hyper shoes. I had to jump across a bunch of poop platforms, slide around on ice, as if anyone ever liked that trope. Then I had to fill up my health by Konami Man. Yes, Konami Man. Unless you hit him, in which he'll never forget it and never give you health ever again for the rest of the game. That's true. I had to swim around in a bunch of underwater caverns and meet creatures from the Black Lagoon and fight a bunch of dragons. Remember the Gillman and dragons from Goonies? Of course you don't. Because this is Goonies too. I had to go through one secret room to get to another secret room to get to another one and another and another and another and another and another. All to rescue your friends. And think about how disturbing that is. There's kids in cages with talk of being killed in an NES game. That is fucking dark. One positive thing about this game is that you can continue as many times as you need, which almost makes it worse because with no game overs, I have no excuse. There's nothing exciting at the end. No final boss, nothing. You open the last door and there you go. You saved Annie, who happens to be a mermaid, by the way. Remember the mermaid in Goonies? No? Well, that's because this is a load of fucking shit. May I ask, why is the mermaid topless? Specifically, my question would be why they actively chose to have a mermaid with a blank chest rather than give her the typical clamshell bra like in Peter Pan, and soon to be made famous a couple years after with The Little Mermaid. Am I asking too many questions? If they make a Goonies 2 film and it's anything like this game, I will truffle shuffle till I shit my pants. It's crazy to think the first game is the one they held back from us. It's kind of like a rhinoceros comes over to piss on you, and then it turns around, oh thank God, and then shits on your fucking face. That is an unfortunate situation, and this is one of the worst sequels ever. Konami really delivered the number 2 on us. It goes many layers deep. It starts out like Super Pitfall. You scrape away that layer of shit, and underneath is Friday the 13th. And under that is Mylon's Secret Castle, as you go further into the center of the wet, smelly dog turd. Now, I don't know for a fact if the core of a dog turd is any worse than the whole turd. That has yet to be tested. But I'm gonna test something else out right now!